not been here before.
I've still got my phone here.
Let everybody know who you are then. This is the former Strasbourg midfielder. Mutzig and Mulhouse as well. Yeah, exactly. Oh, and he's
You know a lot.
He's too much time on my hands with 2 young kids full time in the summer holidays. Honestly, loads of spare time. And he's been hanging around North London for nearly 21 years now.
I'm a Londoner, yeah.
Yeah.
The wrong side of North London, may I add.
Hey?
The wrong side of North London, may I add.
Like that, is it? And from Besiktas. And from Hayes and a few other tiny little clubs like Tottenham and Newcastle. And oh, blimey, you're a lively lot tonight, I tell you. Well, this could be fun. And etc. And England, of course. Les Ferdinand, fantastic to have you here. I think so. Absolutely. And the smallest club I can think that you played for, Aston Villa.
That's a compliment, actually. The smallest, she
exactly,
said. Listen
exactly.
carefully.
I'm from the right side of the West Midlands, so I'm completely biased in a gold and black kind of way. Paul Elliot, and he also played for Celtic and for Chelsea, amongst others as well. Of course, chair of the FA Inclusion Advisory Board. I should mention probably that you're the director of football at QPR as well. I got so carried away with your previous career. And former Edinburgh University player. I don't know what position you played there. Hey, Henry, I think you were kind of a stroller in midfield, pinging the ball, left foot, right foot, into the channels.
Mainly suspended.
Mainly suspended. Yeah, definitely a rebel. Chief football writer, of course, for the Times. So it's a half-decent panel, isn't it? And now, first of all, Les, if we can come to you, bearing in mind the reason that we're here tonight, from a Grenville Tower perspective, you grew up very close to Grenville Tower, and as director of football at QPR, you were very closely involved in the aftermath of what happens. Just tell us about that.
Yeah, well, basically, when the fire happened, and in fact, I grew up on the estate where the Grenville Tower is, and I was there from the age of 6 to 22, so I spent a big part of a lot of my friends lived in the tower. So when it happened, I got caught. I saw a message the early hours in the morning saying, open the club up straight away, and it was Tony Fernandez, who a few hours ahead in Malaysia had seen what was going on. He decided to open up the club for donations the next day. And when I got to the stadium the next day, obviously I went past the tower on the motorway there, and could see it was still on fire. And I just thought I was watching a film. It was just so surreal. But got to the stadium, and the donations that people were bringing around, and Tony was like, let's do a concert straight away. He used to be in the music business, so he thought he could get people around. And I said, look, we're a football club. Let's see if we can do a game that will bring the community together. I was overwhelmed by the amount of donations that had turned up on the day. I went there the next day, and overnight, the actual stadium was just covered with donations that people had brought round. And so we said, yeah, can we do this game? And we got some people together. Loads of people have come together to want to play in it. And it's about, people said, how are you going to divide the game? I said, it ain't really about the game. It's about, can we bring the community together, raise some money? And I know loads of people have done some fantastic things already to raise funds for Grenville, and loads of people have made donations. But this was about us coming together as a community. We're the closest club. Brentford have sent coaches down. We've got a 6-week programme at the moment running under the Westway, very close to Grenville Towers. Brentford, Fulham, Chelsea have all been involved, sending their coaches down. And it's a programme that we want to continue, so it goes on after this. Unfortunately, situations like this happen for things like this to take place, and hopefully after this event on the 2nd of September, it won't just end there. We'll be able to roll out programmes, because as I said, under the Grenville Towers, I learned how to play table tennis, pool, snooker, right under the towers, and football as well. and none of that community's there anymore. So we're just trying to open up some more opportunity for kids around there because they need to heal as well.
Fantastic work that you're doing and ongoing as well. And it's proof of the power for good that football clubs can be. Arsene, I know that you apparently felt that way when you came to England. You saw about the community spirit that we have in this country and how much football clubs can actually do for a community.
We can influence people's life in a positive way, not only on the pitch, but as well outside the pitch. And I think England is a country, you know, I'm in a position of, as a French guy coming to England, it's a country where there's a lot of heart and passion. For me, it's a country of sport, of music, and that demands a big heart. When they love you, they love you. When they hate you, they do it well as well.
Still waiting to experience that. But you've heard it happens to some
overall, I must say I admire that aspect of English culture. There's a solidarity there, and there's passion, and proper heart, you know. And I have a big respect for that, and for the football clubs. They do a lot. We did a lot as well for Grenville Power, but as well on the other hand, I must say, like Les, we live in a privileged world in our bubble a little bit in football. Sometimes you feel guilty that you don't do enough for people who are in real need.
Okay. Changing tack slightly and talking about football. Football itself, we are overwhelmed by the bubble that is football, and anybody glued to Sky Sports News all day today with the launch of the Premier League? It is all-consuming, isn't it? You might have had a little bit to do with it. But in terms of the transfer fees, that's what we're all talking about really at the moment, isn't it? The extraordinary transfer fees, the Neymar situation, and the fact that Manchester City have spent £133 million on fullbacks. Fullbacks. Henry, you've been down at Brighton today. Just compare that stat with what they spent on their stadium and training ground.
Well, they're laughing about it because they've sort of, you know, they almost went out of existence. They've had terrible times down the years, right? And they've sort of had to move around grounds. And now they're coming into a league with this sort of money. And I went down to interview their winger, Solly March, and he's just laughing about it. He said, well, you know, Kyle Walker, 50 million and all that. And he said they've spent, obviously he was sort of analysing all these players. And he said, well, Manchester City have spent more on fullbacks in the last month than we spent on our ground, which is a fantastic ground, and away fans are going to have fun when they go there. And also on their training ground, which is a pretty impressive training ground as well, sort of 130 million. So that is the sort of money. But what is great about the Premier League is that Manchester City will go there on Saturday and, you know, they're expected to win. We're expecting them to win. The sort of major writers will go there and cover that game. But Brighton genuinely believe they've got a chance. Chris Hughton was there, and he was talking calmly to his players today. And as Pep Guardiola found out last season, there are a few ambushes in this league. So it's not the best league in the world. I mean, I was in Skopje last night, and you've got to look at Real Madrid, how good they are, and Barcelona, and the players they've got. But in terms of excitement, in terms of the unpredictability, I still think there's something special about English football. And all those Brighton players, Lewis Dunk he's so determined to get in the England team that he'll be giving everything against that great Manchester City attack. You know, they've got players like Izzy Brown in on loan, who's got a point to prove as well. So I wouldn't write them off.
About time you put a shift in though, Henry, to be fair. Macedonia last night for the Super Cup, Brighton today, here tonight. You want to work a bit harder?
I will do.
Okay, I'm sure your wife's whipping you, telling you to work a little bit harder and put a shift in. Transfer fees, Paul, do you think this is sustainable? Is it going to continue in the manner that it is now, or do you think there's going to be a limit to it?
It's a very good question. I mean, I think there's a number of anomalies here. Nobody knows the ramifications of Brexit, what that's going to look like. I think it's going to be impactful in some way. I don't know at the highest level where there's going to be some kind of potential special dispensation, because I think if you look historically since 1992, the actual TV deals have gone up historically 70%, which is spectacular. That's the value of the brand. And I think we've got some great collateral, we've got some great assets in this country. And my view is that one of the biggest challenges, obviously, if you look at the incomes that club get. I mean, the last TV deal was in totality 8.14 million, 5.14 billion for the domestic rights, another 3 billion for the overseas international rights. That's a colossal amount of money. The Premier League now is in 215 countries, 750 million homes every week, 4.7 billion global audience. It's colossal. Now,
hang on a minute. that Premier League.
Shall I bow? Shall I bow? I'll take a bow on that one.
That Premier League handbook that landed
So
on
I'm
my
not an economist.
doormat
I'll leave that to
yesterday.
Arsene. Arsene's the economist. I'm an ex-player and the chair of an inclusive advisory board. However, but what I would say is that make me laugh with on that. To answer your point, I think one of the key indicators is the players' salaries. Because if you look at the model, I think 60% of the turnover of the club, I think if it starts going further north, 70, 85%, I don't think the model's sustainable. But I think if you look at now the revenues, the indicators is match day broadcasting and commercial revenues. And I think now our football clubs are run extremely well. Richard Scudamore is a very astute man. He's got a lot of influence, a lot of credibility, and a lot of power. So to answer your question, notwithstanding the economic trends and the environment, I personally feel the model is sustainable, yes.
Do you agree?
Yes. But I come back to, if I ask you what was the size of a football club 30 years ago, you would say basically it's the number of following a club had. The size of a club was decided by a number of people who went to the stadium on Saturday. What is the size of a club today? It is basically still the audience that the club makes. Manchester United has the biggest audience in England. But as well, it is the size of financial power of the owners that has changed. The TV income is shared equally in England in a very fair way. That is in fact questioned at the moment. But after that, we have added something in the last 10 years, that the ownership has moved abroad, and sometimes to billionaires, and sometimes to governments, to states. And they have a financial power, and they can decide at any moment, yes, we can buy Neymar for 300 million, because it is good for our country, because we'll carry the flag for the World Cup, like Qatar. And so it's very difficult to what we were used to. I spend that, what will I get back? That doesn't exist anymore on the financial terms. It's more a question of rationality, how much will the player bring back, but as well passion, ego, what will bring it back on publicity, on promotion for our country. So it has become more irrational.
Is that healthy?
Not really, because you couldn't. The difficulty is that when you manage football players, they have played football, you say to Neymar, you make now 30 million euros per year net. That means basically 65 to 70 million gross. Then you have to say to the other players, okay, you make 5 to 10.
Sounds fair.
But they will not necessarily accept it. So you have to, maybe, I believe that the danger in that, what I love in football, it's a team sport. What all that brings in, it has become more about individuals. But modern society has created more emphasis on individual success, individual stardom, and less what makes a team a team. And the real question we can answer today, can Nottingham Forest win the European Cup today? No. Why? Because what this financial power has brought is all the best players come in a very small number of clubs. And the unpredictability of the competition has gone down. We know that only 10 clubs today can win the European Cup. Maybe not even 10, 5 to 6. Why? Because all the best players are together in the same clubs and not spread anymore. And that makes it less unpredictable. We know that Real Madrid will fight for the championship again, but they stayed as well before 30 years without winning the European Cup. Now it has changed, and all the best players are regrouped, concentrated.
But not
Like,
mention
a
Leicester
bit like
then,
in
eh?
the society, in the big companies. Sorry?
Leicester was the obvious.
Leicester is an example that everybody will talk about.
Who are you?
You're right.
There's always one lady, or it is a striker or goalkeeper, you know.
Yes. Oh, is that right?